Fantastic, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome to the Pollinate Potluck. My name is Ariel, and I'm the chief convener with Pollinate Impact. The session that you have joined today is a Perfect Your Pitch session for incubators. So we have two incubators who generously have agreed to be our guinea pigs and in the hot seat today. So they're going to get some honest and potentially, well, hopefully not too brutal, but some honest feedback on their pitches to the Small Foundation and to Triple Jump, who have generously agreed to join us today. So we really hope that everyone gets a fantastic perspective and kind of sneak peek behind the curtain of how donors and funders consider the pitches and presentations that they have from incubators and accelerators. So if this is the first time you're joining us, I see a few familiar names here. This series last week and this week is the virtual launch of Pollinate Impact, which is a member-led network of incubators and accelerators in the Global South. So our mission is to empower and resource impact incubators to collectively amplify our ability to solve the biggest problems facing people and the planet. And we know that access to financing and sustainability strategies for incubators and accelerators is a very, very important topic and challenge. And we've had a lot of sessions around this the last, I would say, the last about 10 days or so. And building better relationships and opening perspectives on both sides for both incubators and funders is a really important part of what we want to do. So this potluck is just a sampling of what we are going to offer as a member organization. So we're just getting started, and I hope you enjoy this session. I hope it's insightful, and we'll have a lot more to come once we launch and after kind of the potluck formally concludes. So at every meeting at Pollinate Impact, we like to start our meetings with a check-in question just to see where everyone's at and level set. So we're going to do that with a Menti poll. Thank you. Tassin has just dropped the link there in the chat. So just click on the link, and I would welcome all of our speakers and presenters to also feel free to contribute. What we're asking today for the check-in is share one emotion that would describe how you feel when you're presenting your organization to a funder. So could be a single word, could be a short phrase, but we just want to get a sense from the folks in the room. How do you feel when you're presenting to funders? Anxious? Oh, hopeful. I like the positivity. Nice. Wow, we have a very optimistic group, smart, driven. We've asked sort of similar variations of this check-in question a couple of times this week. Yeah, this is like the most optimistic one we've had. So previously we kind of asked, yes, thanks, Tassin. She's just shared the link again. If you've just joined, we're doing our check-in questions. So feel free to just click on the Menti link below. And let us know how you feel when you're presenting to a funder. So was it last week, earlier this week, we had a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress when it came to approaching funders and approaching donors. So I like the optimism. We're starting this session off on a good note. So great. So we just have a couple more questions on the poll. We want to know where in the world everyone is joining from today. Pollinate Impact, our geographic focus is Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. Great. I see Ghana representing. Thailand, yes. I see South Africa, Ghana, UK. Awesome. So we definitely have a global audience. And if once you respond to that one, you can go to the next question. And I see Nigeria here. Go to the next question. We just want to know who's in the room. Are you an incubator? Are you a funder? Are you an academic institution? Maybe a consultant? It's just helpful for us to understand where everybody's coming from. I see one. Okay, nice. Funder. I'm guessing that's probably one of our speakers, entrepreneur. I'm expecting our incubator bucket will probably increase. And if anybody responds other, let us know what the other is, because that'd be interesting. Okay. We have an organizational network, which is an other. Okay, great. Yeah, so as expected, quite a few incubators and accelerators, which is what we anticipated. So with that, I actually want to let our presenters introduce themselves. So we are lucky to have with us Michael Thompson, or MT, as I understand he would prefer, from the Small Foundation, and we have Zach Kolp from Triple Jump, who are going to be our sort of not so brutal judges and evaluators today. So MT and Zach, I'll let you guys introduce yourself quickly, and then we'll move on to Matt and Pervenche.
Sure, I'm happy to lead. My name is Zach. I'm based in Kenya, originally from the US. My background is actually in actuarial sciences. I worked with an ESO called Village Capital some time ago, launched a company in Kenya called Pago, and I've been working with and for the Dutch Good Growth Fund for the past 5 years. So DGGF, it's a public fund. It's allocated by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and primarily invests in financial intermediaries. So that's VCs, private equity funds, mezzanine funds, to encourage entrepreneurship in emerging markets. However, I have the very fun job of working with ecosystem partnerships across Latin America, Southeast Asia, and broadly speaking, continental Africa.
Hi, my name is MT. I'm an investment manager at Small Foundation. I'm based in Kenya as well. My background is in private equity across West Africa and East Africa. Small Foundation is an impact foundation based out of Ireland. And we support opportunities on the continent in Africa. Our mission is really to eliminate extreme poverty from Africa, and we do this by investing in intermediaries like funds, incubators, and accelerators like yourselves that support MSMEs to generate more income. I'm happy to be here today.
Great. Thank you guys so much. And we'll move on to our brave souls. So we have Matt Wallace, who's joining us, and Pervenche, who will both be presenting their organizations. So I'll let both of you introduce yourselves before we put you in the hot seat.
Thanks. I'll go first, Pervenche, if that's okay. So my name is Matt. I'm the CEO at ONOW. I'll get to go first and experience the tumult of the judges before Pervenche. So I'm excited for the opportunity to share what we're up to and how we go about pitching anyway. So thanks for the opportunity for this.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pervenche Aliman, and I'm in Abidjan, in West Africa. I'm very pleased to be here and to challenge myself by this presentation. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And just a request for Zach, MT, and anyone who wants to ask a question. The request from Pervenche is that if we could speak slowly and clearly so that she can catch everything, as she is being brave enough to pitch to us in English instead of French, because yes, I know I don't speak French, so I would be useless in that. So thank you so much, Pervenche, for being willing to do this, and Matt as well for being so brave. So Matt is going to be the first one to present. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Matt present first, and then Pervenche will present second. Matt will make his presentation for about 10 minutes, and then we'll have Q&A from Zach and MT, but we welcome any questions from the audience as well. And we'll have about 10 minutes reserved for Q&A. Then we'll move on to Pervenche's presentation. So feel free to put any questions or thoughts in the chat box as we go, and we'll pick those up once the presentations are over. So Matt, I will hand it over to you.
That's awesome. Can you hear me? Can you see my screen?
We can hear you loud and clear, and we can see your screen clearly.
All right, here we go. Hi, everyone. It's really great to be here. My name is Matt Wallace. I'm the co-founder and CEO of ONOW. We are seeking a $250,000 impact grant to expand our operations beyond Myanmar and Thailand into other parts of Southeast Asia. So that's what I'm going to be talking about here on this call. today. So in 2008, I moved to Myanmar soon after my undergrad, and I moved there to work with micro and small entrepreneurs to help them start their businesses and grow their businesses and find ways to bring new sources of income into their households. After being there for about 13 years, I was essentially forced out of the country. I had to leave as quickly as I could because in 2021, Myanmar was faced by some political instability. But with the help of a really great team on the ground and a lot of mentors and coaches and support around me, we were actually able to keep the company, the incubator, the acceleration programs alive. And what I realized looking back is that I had an amazing culture around me. I had an amazing community around me. And the people that we serve don't typically have that option. They don't have support in the way that I did. And so they are always facing this steep and scary valley of death with very little support services around them. So this is what ONOW does. We help them navigate that valley of death through mentoring, coaching, and training services. So here's our mission statement. We exist to enable women on the margins to become financially capable and empowered entrepreneurs. We're talking about women on the margins developing the skills and the support structures they need to navigate the valley of death. Here's the problem. The global economy runs on 330 million businesses like those we serve, but they are incredibly fragile. They have little to no margin for error. They have limited cash to get through difficult times. They also have low growth prospects. They're facing constrained market access. They have a major challenge navigating the risks in front of them to actually take the steps they need to grow. And every decision they have is a terrifying decision. Female entrepreneurs are hit the hardest. They have less control of resources, fewer assets, smaller networks, less access to finance. So when we talk about on the margins, we're talking about young, migrant, rural, peri-urban. And here's an example. Her name is Malele. She's a textile entrepreneur. Sorry for the video that's playing, but she had to work 2 or 3 times harder than most to actually achieve her goals. And our solution was to build for her an accessible digital platform for female business owners like her who are on the margins to start their business, expand their market, understand their finances, connect with the most important thing here, a dedicated coach, so she can get access to business capital she needs to take home more income. The theory of change is that if we help her assess her business, understand where it is, understand the necessary steps she needs to take in financial management, help her understand what her use of funds would be if she could access finance so that when she connects to a funder, she knows exactly how to use that money. We help her access a broader network so she has opportunities to sell, to purchase inputs at lower prices. All of this is part of developing a market growth strategy. And this all rests on a foundation of live coaching, individual coaching, individual attention. Every business is different. A coach she can trust, a coach she can bounce ideas off of, a coach who's there for her to talk to her about her challenges, but also accountability to help her actually act on the challenges she faces. Now, if we do this, these female business owners on the margins get 3 things. They get agency. That means they can make a decision for themselves. If they want to move to the city, they can. If they want to move to the village, they can. They can choose for themselves rather than being told what to do. They can also influence their community. They can create jobs for others. And most importantly is income. She has money to actually back up that agency and influence. And that's the most important part of our program. Impact on the bottom line. Our data shows that business owners in our program are becoming 25% more profitable. She manages her money better. She grows her markets. This is an outcome indicator that's so important here. She's more profitable. Businesses that are failing when they enter our program become profitable. 55% of businesses that are failing become profitable. We're not talking about she finished a training. We're talking about actual outcome indicators. And we know this because we gather robust amounts of data on a regular basis. At least 15 outcome data points like profitability, revenue generated, jobs supported by our program. These are some examples of the metrics that we actually gather: revenue, expenses, employment, coaching sessions completed, investment unlocked, cash on hand to endure shocks. It's so important that this is all outcome data. So Malele, when she entered our program, she's a textile entrepreneur who had migrated from the village to the city. She was facing constrained market access, difficulty managing finances, and was just exhausted by all the decisions. But today, her sales are 33% bigger because of the program. She has a coach to talk to. She has a broader network to connect with. She's sending money home to her family. You should watch this video later on. She has an amazing story. So here's the thing, though. We want to scale up these services to the millions of businesses that don't have support. In 2019, we served 300 businesses. But in 2023, we've coached one-on-one, in-person, not lecture, more than 10,000 businesses. And we do this with an approach and a platform that we call Enable. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Enable because it's our scaling strategy. So we have multiple revenue streams as an organization. And this is really important because it's what gives us our sustainability. These revenue streams take the form of delivery of programs through NGO partners. We work closely with them to reach their beneficiaries. These kinds of partners, some really well-known and some great partners that we've been able to deliver programs with. We also charge the business owner directly. And this is easy to justify for a business owner who sees her productivity go up and her profitability go up. It's a low monthly subscription for coaching and support and network access. And the most important new kind of stream that we're adding is this platform to help other ESOs do the same kind of work, the same kind of effort. So we're going to extend our impact by helping other ESOs scale up their support to business owners. Now, we're already active in Myanmar and Thailand and Cambodia. We're expanding across Southeast Asia. And this is an important region for us because the market is huge. Actually, more than 50% of all of the refugees and migrants in Southeast Asia are female. And we can look at the numbers later on if you want to. But these are the countries across Southeast Asia where migration is happening. And roughly 13% of those migrants are entrepreneurial. We need to reach them. There are more than 23 million of them in Southeast Asia. And so what we need to do is both launch our own operation in new countries or work through a number of partner organizations. We've already focused and found more than 31 organizations focused on inequality and gender who we can deliver incubation services through. So here's our ask: $250,000 of a social impact grant to help us accelerate this digital platform and then go to market across multiple countries in Southeast Asia. This fuels our expansion throughout Asia over the next 2 years and even into Africa in 2025 so that we can deliver high-touch services to a very large scale. We'll talk about this in the Q&A, but I can talk about our early adopters and our expansion. I can talk about our like-minded partners, our strategy for developing those through these networks and the markets that we see growth opportunities in. If you have questions, we can come back to that during the Q&A. But the main advantage here is our management team. My colleagues and I have been working on this problem for more than 10 years together. We're well connected. We're recognized as experts in the field. I actually I have the luxury and the opportunity of sitting on the board at Youth Business International and Andy. So it's a really great opportunity to extend that influence to support more organizations. And we lead a diverse team of 35 people. They have capabilities in media, tech, data, coaching, training, and they're diverse. 66% of them are women. More than 50% of them are migrants. They look and understand our target audience. We're also recognized. We've won awards in the last couple of years. One of them, the WP Award in Southeast Asia, is the first runner-up for a gender-responsive marketplace. We're also the Enabling Ecosystem winner from the International Telecoms Union earlier this year. We pay very close attention to the SDGs. I can dive into this afterwards if you want to. But the main thing for us is gender and inequality, migrant women on the margins. So to sum up, this grant gets us 125,000 female entrepreneurs served over the next 5 years. That's $3,000 extra into the pockets of those business owners, $400 million flowing into households to invest in education, health, and nutrition. The most exciting thing here is the data we can gather on this population that is completely unseen. We can reveal so much about how to serve them effectively. So come along with us as we enable this. this effort to bring a coach to every small business on the margins. I'd love to talk about any questions you have about the program. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Great presentation, Matt. Thank you so much. I will open it up to MT and Zach for their questions. And if anyone in the audience has questions, feel free to drop them in the chat.
I can go first. Thank you, Matt, for that very interesting presentation. It's very impactful business you're building. My first question is, you've supported 10,000 businesses with a team of 35, and you're doing one-on-one coaching. And so how are you managing resource, capabilities / constraints? And how effective is the coaching if, you're supporting so many businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you mind if I take a couple minutes to answer that question? Because it is so essential to understanding how we do this. So just let me share again, and I want to walk you through what a typical coaching load looks like, because this is kind of the whole key here. We think when coaches are going to coach, we think strategy and planning. But actually, this is based on our data and interviews with a lot of other business support organizations. In a 40-hour work week, coaches only spend about 2 hours on strategy and planning with business owners, 5% of the week. That is so disappointing and so solvable. 50% of their time is reporting and data capture, and 10% is this context switching, where they're going from one thing to the next, and it takes a lot of time to reset their mind. They have to prepare for the next call or the next visit. Essentially, we're talking about 24 hours a week of reducible overhead that we are finding ways to reduce. With this tool, Enable, this platform we've built, coaches are actually coaching. We've 10x'd the amount of time they're actually doing strategy and planning. This is what our team is able to deliver. That's 10 times more coaching, strategy, and planning, an 86% reduction in reporting and data capture, 50% reduction in context switching. So when you do that, you can suddenly serve so many more business owners, and what it takes to actually deliver it is Enable. So what are we comparing this to? You might think one-on-one executive coaching. That is not available to business owners on the margins. It's usually available to rich Western executives, CEOs, who can tap into a large network of other CEOs. But more likely, they get this kind of service. It's a 20-to-1 lecture that's delivered through an MFI, a microfinance institution. I'm not kidding. I've seen it where it's 1,000-to-1. It's 20 minutes on how to budget. This is unfair. And the way we did it, let me just walk you through the numbers very quickly here, okay? What we had to do with 9 coaches in 18 months. We needed 14 new businesses per week per coach. 50% of them came back 3 times for bi-weekly coaching. That's about 28 businesses per week per coach maximum over 18 months. That's 5 to 6 coaching sessions per day. It's about a 60-minute coaching session if they want it. Now, the only way this works is you have to have a system that handles it. You need an engaging channel for the business owner. You need a flexible CRM that delivers the information to the coach at the right time. And you need rich data to draw from. This is how we did it. That's how we pulled it off. Essentially, Enable, we built it ourselves for our own work. But if we can adopt it as an industry, we're going to deliver coaching services that are high touch relative to what's actually available. So sorry for taking so long on that, Michael. It's a really important question, but I appreciate that question. Thank you.
Yeah, and I actually have a slew of questions. Maybe, when I usually go to my investment committee to present proposals, our committee actually asks all their questions at once, and then there's some time to answer. We might not have time for the answers, but first off, I was actually really interested in this. I'd like to learn more. So I hope you can follow up with me on some of these questions that we don't get to following this presentation. So I'll just go through my list. Maybe it will take all 5 minutes. Yes. You won't be able to say a word. Who knows? But hopefully later we can get to it. Awesome. This was very exciting to me in terms of the size of the ask. This is within our mandate. We like funding activities that are trying to expand to new markets that have some evidence base already existing from current operations. One thing I typically see with a lot of pitches, especially from ESOs, is the language for the type of entrepreneurs sometimes isn't very segmented. So you mentioned micro and small enterprises. I don't really know if that means livelihood entrepreneurs, because you mentioned MFIs, or if that means dynamic entrepreneurs that are more bread and butter, like factories, because you mentioned a textile entrepreneur, or if it's a niche entrepreneur. There's different kind of growth trajectories, and different funds also think about it in different ways. So DGGF, we have our own segmentation, but I know we've talked to folks at Archidius and Small Foundation, and we do like to think better about segmentation to see if it works. So I have some questions there. I wasn't quite clear who really the target entrepreneur is. I also, one concern is we typically like funding local funders. And when I see the team, I see it looks broadly, sorry, come guys.
Yeah, that's great.
Looked like I actually couldn't tell if you were all based in Myanmar or Thailand, or actually where you're operating from. Would like to know where the team's actually based.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then problem statement initially seemed very attuned for a global audience. It didn't necessarily come say, this is what we've learned from Myanmar and Thailand. This is the problems facing entrepreneurs globally. And I think a lot of funders, we have a good sense of global problems, but I actually don't know what's going on in Myanmar and Thailand. I think you're the expert. I would love to learn more about that. The target demographics were very clear: young entrepreneurs, women, rural, but then I think you mentioned refugees and migrants in the middle. I wasn't sure if this is specifically for refugees and migrants. If so, that's very inclusive. Would love to learn more. A couple more questions. Sorry, I'm on a roll. You mentioned you do mostly coaching. I'd love to know the TA cost per project as a benchmarking exercise. It seems like you have a lot of data, but we have a broad portfolio. How does this stack up on a cost per entrepreneur that we typically see? And then you're collecting so much data. You mentioned specifically profitability increasing for a lot of your folks and many becoming profitable, but I wasn't clear by how much profitability it increased or over what time period the organizations become profitable. And then you had a dashboard of all this other great data you're collecting, but no actual figures. It would be great to see the actual figures implemented into that dashboard. I'd also be very interested, and this is a bigger question, about why coaching was selected as the primary intervention versus training versus a programmatic approach. No idea how this compares to other actors doing similar interventions in Myanmar and Thailand or in other markets. Love the idea of coaching. Seems you have a lot of evidence to back that up, but would love to learn more about there. And then just quickly, I'm going to go through things we typically ask additional questions when we see proposals. Would love to see if there's a specific innovative element here. You use a platform, but I think that goes in line with additionality. Is that platform unique to either of these markets in the way that you're deploying it? Does that stand out? I think the scalability was very clear, but the track record, I have to admit, I missed a couple slides because the rain came down. I wasn't, and maybe you mentioned this, but I wasn't clear when it started. I think you mentioned 300 entrepreneurs served. And then you mentioned this is what we're seeking to do over the coming years, but I didn't know if that was the outcomes of the specific $250,000 being sought or if that was total outcomes. And lastly, I know that you're talking to a lot of different funders. Question would be, why would funding specifically from me, DGGF, or Triple Jump Investment Management be the right type of funding? Are we the right organization to help you, and why? But this is probably not the best audience to answer that because you're talking to multiple funders. Sorry, that's the slew. Hopefully you can get my email address and we can carry on the conversation. But sorry, Michael, I went for a while there.
That was awesome, Zach. I'll get back to you. Those are great questions. Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
But Matt, if you want to take a couple of those questions, we have if you want to pick one or two that you want to go ahead and answer, and yeah, happy to connect you guys also.
Absolutely. I feel like funders oftentimes want to fund teams, and that makes total sense. They want to invest in teams. So let me deal with that question because this is the key thing here. Yeah, you're right. There are three guys here at the top. The most crazy, unique thing about these three guys is that we've all given more than a decade in country to Myanmar, to Southeast Asia. Today, I'm in Thailand. My colleague Johnny in Thailand. Adam is in the States momentarily. Denza is still active day-to-day leading the team on the ground in Myanmar, and our team is large and almost entirely Myanmar and Thai. I feel like the homegrown solution is absolutely the right solution. And I was in Myanmar for about 2 years before we actually started to build the thing. And that's because we want to be close to problem. We want to be close to the issue. And it was in the process of being there and discovering and working alongside that I think really gave us the understanding of what platform and what approach would be most effective. So I'm gonna stick there. I'll get back to Zach with a lot of these other questions. They're really great questions. I appreciate it. Michael, I could deal with another one if you have one more.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that a second one from Zach that would be useful for you to answer is really who the target, market is, because it's a very broad target market that you had pitched.
Yeah, that's a great question. So for us, we absolutely, because we're working with this on the margin population, they're almost always going to be livelihood type entrepreneurs. Though once you start to hit the kind of scale we hit, which we've served more than 350,000 digitally, we've coached 10,000, but we've supported far more. That lets us reach far up market beyond what we would have initially designed ONOW for. But I think the most powerful thing about our plan to scale here is that it is meant to support other ESOs to deliver to their audience. So if they're serving SGBs, we already have early adopters who support small and growing businesses. The non-livelihood entrepreneur, this system works for that. But I think what's most important is that we're helping them realize how to get to those that don't typically get served, how to actually begin to expand their reach beyond the typical urban middle-class educated to find even those small and growing businesses that are in rural areas, because that idea of acquisition is a major challenge that other business support organizations face. If we can help them navigate it and find entrepreneurs that they typically wouldn't serve, that's a major win for the whole industry and for the whole ecosystem, for the impact that we're seeking. So it's a great question, but I'd love to show you the numbers of how we broke down and how our own large segment has broken out. Thanks for that question, Michael. Thanks for that, Zach.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, Matt, you're right on time. Thanks so much for that. We'll let Pervenche come on now, and we can definitely take a few more questions maybe towards the end. But I want to make sure that we're giving Pervenche also the opportunity. So Pervenche, welcome. You will have about 10 minutes to make your presentation as well, and then the same will have about 10 minutes for Q&A. So feel free to get started whenever you're ready.
Yes, I will open my presentation.
No worries. We'll let you know when it's up.
Yes, it's now good. I'll do it again. Okay, do you see?
Yes, Pervenche, we can see.
Okay, so thank you for having us. Our incubator name is COMMAN-YA. COMMAN-YA means a brave woman in our local language. And we exist since 5 years now. And what we notice in our ecosystem is that only 25 formal companies are led by women, and 94% of women entrepreneurs are in the informal sector in our country, and also 5% of women access to loan property. That means that if they ask funds or they go to the bank, they can have the fund because they can give collaterals. So we deal with all the sectors, so farming, agriculture, cosmetics, agro transformation, and all these sectors are concerned. So we built our solution around our incubator to support the women. And then we have some program of building capacity. The pusher is the program for only the person who has the idea, but they didn't start yet. So they want to pass from the idea to the business. And Incubator is a program for the people who already launched their company, but they need to be well structured. So it's under 3 years of existing. And this is our main program. And also you are Sparker. Sparker is for the students to help them to go in to pass from the studying to work. And Booster is the accelerator. We also have a podcast and also for our community to talk with them. We organize some events with entrepreneurs, with investors, with people, and also activities. What is different with us is that we make a personalized comment on va dire, a personalized accompaniment. So we adapt our program to the needs of the woman, and also we don't only make building capacity, but we also talk about the problem that women has outside the company, like the domestic problem that they can have, the cultural problem they can have, the problem with the health or the mental health and all these things. So we have an holistic program. We try to make a proximity with them. So we continue to have the news from them. You can follow them by visiting them. And also the particularity of our program is that we give ownership to the women about the success. So they are not victims. They can take the responsibility and do what they do. So we make a lot of personal development in our program. And also we also have a co-working space so that women who don't have a place to receive the partners, they can come here, or sometimes also they can have some office here that they pay also. And then we also organize a lot of events to build our network. That's the difference. And also after that, the metric is that we started our activities in 2018, and in 2020 we had like 121 direct and indirect employees that were created, and also 50 entrepreneurs that we accompanied since then. The satisfaction is average 4.36, and yes. So here are the SDG alignment. But our focus is on the equality between all the sex, and to reduce the inequality, and also to give some decent economic job to women. So some success stories we have, we can tell about our La Mielleuse, who is an apiculture. So she has a company who make honey. So she make all the chain. So she's starting by putting the ruche, and then she collect the honey and then put in the bottle, all these things. So when she came in the program, she used like plastic bottles, and then after the program now she can use like glasses bottle, and then she know more how to put the margin on the price so that they can take care of hidden cost. Yes. And then the second one is a woman who was who worked in the laboratory, and then when she came in the program in 2018, she didn't start yet, and then we helped them. We found them with our own money. And then after the program, we went with her in the to the provider of the equipment, and then we give this caution, and then he give all the materials, and she started working in reimburse. So now that we are talking, she has three laboratories now, and she employed like 10 people in all the three. Our team is small. It's me. We have three permanent staff, and in the three permanent staff, we have me. I used to be a banker before launching the incubator, so I have like 15 years of experience in all the sectors. And after that, I have an assistant and then a volunteer who is here for only 1 year, and then she will go back, and then another one will come. So after that, we have 30 volunteers also, but they are not permanent. They come to give some support as they are free in the current job. And the next step for us is to really deepen our support and our program so that we can run the incubator like with all the metrics that should be done and all these things, to also build in our business model, because for now we depend a lot on the international organism, but we want to be more free to fund our program and also to design them. And also we want to improve the way that we measure our impact, because as we are young, we cannot really, we don't have the distance to measure our impact, and then also the tools. And also the other problem is the human resources. We really need to build a long-term and permanent staff and professional also, so that we can grow efficiently. So here is the money that we need, but before this year, 70% of our funds were coming from the international organism. So now we want to reduce it and then work with a private company on the CSR budget, and also generate our own money through the event or crowdfunding or all this. So this amount is $260,000. And here you have some testimony of our incubee. This woman, Eve Orega, she dig the land to get water in the village. So after the program, she said that it's the best training you can have as an entrepreneur. I think COMMAN-YA teaches us how to move forward on the path to success. The second one, Marianne, who has a company of cleaning, she said that she became optimistic, self-confident, and ready to grab opportunities. And coming from her is very grateful for us, because she was very shy and not confident at all. And the third one, she said that she can manage her cash flow now, because she had a company who sell infusion and tea, but she did it like an hobby. But now she realized that she can make money with this company, and she does. And our need is like financial, so we need to fund our program. We also need to honorary loan so that after the program, we can give some stipends or some money to the women to equip their company. And also we need non-financial, this is the most important also for us, non-financial like advisors, professional staff who can help us to strengthen our the way that we run the incubator. And here are our partners. We have Société Générale, who are my employer before I launched the incubator, and the US Department of State, MASA, the Switzerland Embassy, VC, COMMAN-YA Capital, and then Dalberg. So thank you, and I'm ready to answer your question.
Lovely, excellent job, Pervenche. Thank you so much. Since we know Zach is excited and will ask a lot of questions, MT, we'll let you go first, and maybe you want to give a couple to Pervenche first.
Thank you, Pervenche, for the work you're doing to support women in Cote d'Ivoire. My first question is, it wasn't very clear to me if your company is for profit or not for profit. And so if you could just please explain if it's for profit and not for profit. And if it's for profit, what's the revenue model essentially? That was also not clear in your presentation.
Yes, we are a non-profit organization.
Okay.
So most of our fund revenue come from the international organism who found the program. But now we don't want to depend too much on them because it's a bit unstable. It's difficult to depend only on them. So we want also to generate our own money, even if we use it, you know, and then to go to the CSR budget of private companies or organize events, all these things.
So the plan going forward is to get a lot more private capital. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. And then I had another question around, so as sector agnostic, you support women in all different sectors. Is that correct as well? But what's the specific expertise of your team to be able to help these women in their specific ventures?
We work with a pool of trainers. So we make casting, depend on the need of the women, and then we connect them and became a kind of program. Yes.
And how long do the women stay in the program? Is it a cohort system? Do they stay for 3 months, 6 months in perpetuity? What's the length of the program like?
Yes, it's a cohort system. And then we started by, because we are in the iterative process, each year we try to adjust. So at the beginning, we made like 3 months, and then we noticed that they knew that they need follow-up. So we made like 3 months of capacity building and then 6 months of follow-up on ground. And then we noticed that the follow-up was too long for our staff because we are a small staff, and then we cannot just get the availability of the trainers during 6 months. So we decide now to make like 6 months, 3 months of capacity building and 3 months of follow-up.
Makes sense. I would give Zach opportunity to ask questions as well.
You know, I have tons of questions. I have a lot of compliments. This was very interesting as well. Thank you so much for sharing. I'll tell you many things that I liked about it and that I'd like to learn more probably following this call. I really like the problem statement. It was locally attuned to the market that you're in. As a public funder, we're always looking for more exposure to specific markets. Right now, I don't have exposure to Cote d'Ivoire, so it's a great opportunity for someone like TGGF. And for incubators, at large. A lot of public funds like DGGF have their country list, and they have all the portfolio for each country. So if you're looking for funds from other public funders, you can always go to their country list, and if you see, oh, there's actually not a lot going on in my country, it's a good hit for you. So those were some things I liked. I really liked
Can
how
you say it again, please?
Yes.
Can you say it again, the last sentence?
Yeah, we don't have any activity in Cote d'Ivoire. And as a public fund, we're always looking to have more activity in places where we don't have partnerships. So this is a very interesting opportunity for someone like DGGF, a public fund. It was a great thing I loved. I really loved how you showed how you're using different parts of the ecosystem to leverage more support for your entrepreneurs, networks and support organizations, human capital. And the success story you gave was very clear. It showed how when you give support, an entrepreneur scales. It goes up from a livelihood entrepreneur, maybe to the next level. And as a public fund that provides access to finance, our minimum requirement for an end beneficiary, for an entrepreneur, is they must be able to access $5,000 or an equivalent of $5,000. And that success story made it very clear that you're very eligible for support. We also are a public fund. We're not tech gurus. We really like funding things like human capital that provides direct support to an entrepreneur. We know how that works. It's very clear. So these were all very interesting. The things I'd like to learn more about following this call are in line with what MT suggested. What is the path to sustainability? How does the amount that you're raising for fill that gap? If you need $260,000 or an equivalent of, how will that make your organization commercially viable and no longer need support? I would love to learn more about the team at large. I'd also like to know more about the ecosystem in Cote d'Ivoire. How are you, who are the other players? And how are your services innovative? I know you mentioned a lot of differentiating factors, but is there any specific innovation that you're doing that is unique to the market? These were some of the things. Don't have to answer all of them now, but if you want to try one or two, feel free. I hope we can talk after the call, though.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I will try to give a summarized answer, and then we will go deeper maybe after the call. And the most different also in between us and the others is that we are a local actor. So we are not a branch of another organization. So this is the main. We don't have a lot like local. We don't have a lot. Most of the actors in our ecosystem are branch from organizations coming from France or other places. And also, we need the fund that we need is mostly to hire professionals so that we can strengthen our team. Because for now, we need a permanent and professional team. What we got for now is we have a lot of turnover, not turnover like people quit, but the contracts are small. So we need to be more stable with the staff, and then we need professionals. So to have this, we need money to hire them. So the money that we will take will be to hire the people, and then also to fund some program. To fund some program, because when you fund a program, you need trainers, you need coaches, you need all this stuff to take care of the entrepreneurs. So all these persons, you need to give them something that will attract them, and then they will make the job correctly. But you cannot only depend on benevola or volunteers, because most of our trainers, they are volunteers. So sometimes we cannot ask them too much, you know. Yeah, that's our principal problem. And then the money, after this presentation, I can give you um, the the allocation of the money for each problem that we have. I hope that I answer maybe most of the question. Thank you. Thank you, Zach.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Pervenche. And yes, we'll definitely introduce you so that you can answer all of Zach's questions when you guys can connect after this call. But I love the energy. So thank you so much, Pervenche. Really, really great presentation. And thank you for taking all those questions, or as many as you could. We have some more time. I wanted to, put this back to Michael and MT and Zach to, give some very practical pieces of advice, for the other incubators who are in the room. I think, we definitely saw some kind of insights into what you're all looking for, touched on things around scale and quality. And one of the things that actually we're going to talk about tomorrow is around incubators and accelerators, scaling at a pace that suits them. And we will have some stories tomorrow from other incubators who are in the process of scaling down because they scaled too quickly, and others that are scaling up because the market is there. So that was interesting to hear. Obviously, very much that what the support that we give our entrepreneurs around team, around understanding the market, around kind of that path is to sustainability, which is another big tension that has surfaced over the last few sessions. So I'll kind of give the floor to you to maybe just give some very practical pieces of advice for those who are preparing to present or putting together their materials to present. And obviously we know, every funder is different and everyone has their unique perspectives, but so I think we'll obviously take that into consideration, but would love to just give the floor to you all to give some practical advice to the folks in the room. And if anyone on the call has additional questions that you want to ask, MT and Zach, we can put them in the hot seat a little bit too. If you have some burning questions that you'd like to ask, feel free to just drop them in the chat. So whoever kind of wants to share first, go ahead. Oh, MT, you're on mute.
No, I was going to say that I was going to let Zach go so that he can get all his comments out of the way before I can give any feedback from my end.
I'm honored. Thank you, MT. I appreciate it. No, I'm dying to talk. I can't help it. Yeah, so some general feedback. I think I think small foundations could have a very different perspective and a helpful one, but DGGF, it is a public fund, and a lot of public funds, I think I mentioned to Matt privately, are primarily access to finance organizations. They do ecosystem support, and the idea is to enable entrepreneurs to access finance at a stage of their growth. That's not the sole benefit, but it is a primary part of a lot of these organizations that are publicly funded. And as such, with incubators, there's always a fine line. A lot of incubators are serving livelihood entrepreneurs, which are very eligible for support. And I'm always trying to find great incubators to fund. But sometimes the trajectory of the entrepreneur is they're too early stage for us, because the minimum threshold for them is they need to be able to absorb at least $5,000 or an equivalent thereof in an external financing. That's something we really look at. So when we see incubators, I get really excited, and then I realize, they're serving a great demographic, but it's mostly farmers who maybe aren't going to scale and employ 5 people, have the capacity to employ 5 people. be able to secure $5,000 in annual revenue, or really to be able to absorb that $5,000 ticket size that we would like to enable incubators to address. That's a big thing that I'm always looking for with incubators. It's the target demographic. And another thing, like I said to Pervenche, is as a public fund, and I think really a lot of foundations, we do have typically our country lists available online. And as a quick sneak attack for you when you reach out to a public fund, if you do see that the country that you're looking at, the organization already has a lot of activity going on there with ecosystem partnerships with other funds, then making sure that you know how you're going to differentiate yourself within that portfolio. What's it missing? How am I unique? And two, if you're really lucky, maybe like Pervenche, maybe there's not a lot of activity in Cote d'Ivoire with the fund like TGGF, and we'd really love to have be a first mover there for our own portfolio. These are two quick takeaways I think about: making sure that your target entrepreneur aligns with the minimum eligibility requirement for the fund that you're approaching, and also making sure that you're very clear about not just how you're additional to the market, but also additional to that funder's portfolio.
Yes, I can add on my perspectives as well. I think what we prioritize the most is sustainability and commercial viability. And so we see most incubators try to raise grant capital, but the key question is, if that grant capital is taken away, how then do you become sustainable? And I guess to Pervenche and to Matt, like really, how is your business model sustainable in the long term if there's no grant funding available for your activities? And so that's one key takeaway that I would feedback that I would give to incubators and accelerators. The second thing is that incubators and accelerators tend to speak to so many funders, which obviously is the name of the game. But then you need to find the right type of funder that would be able to support your company or your fund, just so that there are no conflicts in the future. And so those are two key takeaways that I'll give to incubators and accelerators.
Great, thanks both. And I think this came up a couple of times, really the alignment between the incubator, both in terms of, Zach, like you were saying, in terms of the size and the target market. Maybe could one of you or both of you just share, how would you recommend that people go about identifying that alignment and that fit? Because as you said, MT, like people are always approaching funders, but sometimes that could be a lot of wasted time if the alignment simply isn't there. So any other suggestions on how do you assess that alignment so that you really know where to put your effort in when fundraising and when evaluating who to approach?
I can take it. I think first of all, you need to understand what your funding needs are. And so once you identify what the funding needs is it to scale the business? Is it to start up the business? Is it to expand into new territories and new markets? Then you can be able to drill down into who exactly is going to be able to support you in terms of funding the business. But what I would say is, one is that there are, I guess, impact investors and then commercial investors. And I think that's also a very good distinction. There's a number of investors that are, both impact and commercial investors. And so you need to really understand what your business model is able to achieve from a return perspective, and then approach the right type of investor, whether it's, you just solely go for that impact investor that is able to sacrifice financial return for impact return, or you can combine both, impact and financial return as well. And so I think that's one quick way to bring that alignment on board.
And I might have an additional item here. I would say keep doing things just like this. This is a great relationship building activity. I think both presenters nailed it. Those were incredible pitch decks and presentations. I can't wait to learn more. At a fund, you spend all day buried in proposals or looking for proposals. And even if the proposal being submitted doesn't seem like it's exactly what we're looking for, or it's not eligible, having the relationship enables the person to come back and say, hey, can you do this for me? I typically don't ask a lot of incubators that I'm interested in to say, hey, build out a full proposal. It's a lot of work. We've all built out proposals and we've all had them rejected a million times, and it's heartbreaking. So having one pitch deck of what you're looking for is great. I usually ask for a 2-page concept note that hits the big points. I think you both did a great job saying, this is the ask, this is what we're doing. It got me in a clear picture of, are you eligible? It was an introduction. So even if I come back, I say, actually, we're not interested in that or this, but I really like the presentation. It's the relationship building effort. And so I would say, whatever you're doing with Ariel here, keep it up. I want to come back for more.
Awesome, awesome. I'll give the floor back if Matt or Pervenche, if either of you want to ask any questions to either MT or Zach in return, or if anyone else in the room has any questions, happy to take those.
Ariel, if I can ask, I wondered if both of you could speak to windows. If most of these kinds of funds have, is it tight? Is it rolling? How do you typically find things in the industry? What is it for you?
I'll leave this time. I'll take it, MT. You can go next. So we actually don't have a formal funding period. I'll tell you what I do informally, though. We do have year-end targets. We are trying to project for the year ahead. So even now, I have a pretty good idea of what 2024 looks like for me. Not to say that it's fully subscribed, but if you're looking for funding, sometimes I'm in a dry spell and I'm like, oh, I need to do something right away. Right now, I've got a pretty robust pipeline because I spend a lot of time doing that. So it's not fixed, but there's only one person. We've got to do full appraisals. It can take a while to get a deal through. Typically, I'd say one partnership for me for an organization like yourselves, an incubator, per quarter that's pretty tight. We're also looking at other types of organizations. So if I could get 4 deals like this done a year, once a quarter, I'd be very happy.
We do not have any targets per se. And we look at deals on a rolling basis. It takes anywhere between 4 to 6 months for us to close a deal. And so we could look at multiple transactions at the time. We could also look at one transaction at a time. And so it's really flexible on our end.
Thanks, MT. Thanks, Zach.
Yeah, the deal timeline is very similar, I would say, to Small Foundation in the sense that getting the conversation started, fleshing it out. There's several stages of internal approvals. You have to do appraisals, get committee approvals, and then you have to go through the contracting process. End to end, 6 months is a feasible timeline, I'd say, from the start of the conversation to actually, maybe getting money in the door.
Ariel, can I ask one more, Pervenche?
Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
I'm thinking about question about vehicles. I pitched a grant today. We've pitched equities. We've pitched convertible notes. We've done all of those kind of things. Do you find a trend? Do you feel like you have a direction in particular?
I think we are quite flexible as well. So we do anything from grants to equity to straight debt. And so depending on what is useful for the company and what is useful for us, we need to have that alignment. And so it's very flexible on our end. We can do any instrument essentially.
At DGGF, the portfolio I run is purely a grant portfolio. There's lots of different ways you can structure it, 0% forgivable loans or, ESO bonds, but it's going to be a grant one way or the other. It might be one of 10 different types, but it is a grant.
And maybe I'll just follow on that in terms of time duration of the funding that you all provide. What does that time horizon look like? Is it 6-month funding? Is it 1-year funding? Is it multi-year funding? I think that would also be helpful.
We provide capital one time, but it's very patient capital. And so it's anywhere from 7, 10, 20 years that we would expect a liquidation event. And so it's very patient capital.
Yeah, and for DGGF, as a purely a grant portfolio, I mean, for financial institutions, we have other instruments, but for me, for ESO partnerships, we look at a 3 to 5 year period to provide a partnership. It's typically a milestone-based grant. It is anticipated, this requirement can be waived depending on the circumstance, that the money is intended to bridge the gap to sustainability. So at the end of that partnership, it's anticipated that a lot of incubators, accelerators really struggle to be 100% independent from donor funding. That can sometimes feel unrealistic, but we hope to see significant strides towards, and a minimum of 35% of commercial viability is the intended outcome, among others. But it's a good question. And in fact, Ariel, as you have other questions and the team does too, I'm happy to post a few links about DGGF, our seed capital page, so you can learn more about our team, my own incubation and ecosystem building partnership portfolio, a fact sheet, and our DGGF country list, so you can actually see what we're doing in Myanmar, Thailand, other Southeast Asian countries, Cote d'Ivoire. Give me a few minutes, but you'll see those start to populate.
Yeah, happy to. And Zach, happy also if you want to share those and we can email those out to the folks who joined this session. That's also perfectly okay. I'll if you have any more questions. Oh, I see one, Lorraine. Lorraine from Sandbox. Hi, Lorraine, is asking, aside from the usual impact metrics like job creation and revenue generation, is there something you see incubators often missing out on, and from a tracking perspective that can easily show impact in the pitches? And I think that's a great question. We actually had a whole discussion just on the impact measurement, I think, earlier this week, but would love to get your perspective, both of you, on that.
I could go. And so I think for sector-specific incubators or funds as well, we typically like to see metrics within that specific sector. And so, for example, if you are, say, a financial inclusion fund or an incubator, for example, what are the percentage increase in the number of people with access to financial services is useful. And so I think it's also always relevant to have that sector-specific impact metrics as well, in addition to the typical job creation and revenue generation metrics.
Yeah, and for DGGF, since you all showed up today, I'm going to cheat and just read you off some of our internal metrics that we count. Going to pull up this spreadsheet here that we've developed. We look at, and of course, when we talk about ESOs, we're talking about so many different types of organizations, accelerators, incubators, venture studios. We have a platform here today, angel networks. So not all metrics apply to all organizations, but the cost per entrepreneur is always something we're looking at. The capital raised per company, compound annual growth rate of your companies. Really what we're looking at are broad categories that you're tracking. We want to see the catalytic effect. What metrics are you tracking that says, based on our support, this is what our entrepreneurs have leveraged in the market? As an access to finance organization, that's very easy to see from how much finance has been accessed. But if you're a venture studio, you're probably trying to access better talent. And so what catalytic effect are you having on talent? We look at a lot of development relevance metrics. I think that was probably mentioned. These are a bit more plain vanilla, full-time jobs created, also jobs created for specific target demographics that align with the fund. We do look at the selection and service quality metrics. So survivorship rates of your companies, the number of applications per selected companies. That's a proxy for demand of your service offering in the market. We look at the number of companies in your cohort. Sometimes we look at a net promoter score from your programming, some kind of satisfaction score from your entrepreneurs. We also look at metrics pertaining to cost, productivity, and leverage. That's all about cost effectiveness. I won't get into the details there, but a couple ones I'll pull out are, actually, I'm not going to pull out, but cost effectiveness, I think, is the takeaway. How are you tracking that? And then, like I said before, financial sustainability. We do look at income versus expenses and the amount of public funding relative to your total income. And like I said, those aren't relevant across the board to all ESOs, but broadly speaking, development relevance, catalytic effect, cost effectiveness, relevance, indicators of market demand, and sustainability are all key things that we typically see in some way or another across different types of organizations that we like to see above, just jobs created and revenue raised per company. And I will say, Argidius is a very good friend of ours, and they've done an excellent job recently launching a scale program. If you are not familiar with the scale program, that's something that we will promote in Argidius not being present on this call, because it's a fantastic M&E system specifically designed for incubators and accelerators. I would be thrilled if I saw scale indicators coming in from proposals.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And thanks so much, Lorraine, for the question. I hope that was helpful. We have one more question, and we're I think we'll probably have time for this one. Are these opportunities available globally or eligible to only to specific countries? And I think that might have been Zach, in reference to the link that you had shared. Oh, Zach, you're on mute. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I'm actually sharing 4 links, and I'll also send these to you in email. But for DGGF, the last very long link, that's our full country list. So you can see which countries are eligible there, and I'm sending the additional links now. But if there's a specific question on the country list, let me know. Do know that a lot of public funds, the country list that's eligible for support typically depends on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Some countries may lose their eligibility over time. Some countries may be promoted by the ministry to say, actually, we're targeting this one. So there can be some changes with the country list. It's not permanent, but typically it lasts for a 6 to 12-month period. And we don't see significant changes. So broadly speaking, it is relatively standardized.
Great. And Matt, thanks also for sharing your blog as well. I know there have been a few scale trainings that have happened, and we can also share that framework when we send all of the links I email that Zach has. So if you haven't seen it, it is a really helpful tool for incubators and ESOs to consider, effective programming, basically. And I think it's really it's starting to be taken up by funders, like Zach said, that they're really looking to see how those elements are being incorporated into your models, etc. So I will take this opportunity as we kind of wrap up here to thank MT, Zach, for your enthusiasm, for all of your questions, for all of your advice, for lots of links, and huge thanks to Matt and Pervenche for being so open and vulnerable. We know that that's definitely not easy to do, and we really appreciate this. I think this is an immense learning opportunity for everyone on this call to really understand more nuance in terms of what funders are looking for. So I just realized earlier that I had forgotten to do our fun we're going to do a quick fun thing. So I'm going to remove everybody's pins really quick, and I would ask everyone to turn their videos on so that we can see you. Sorry, I'm kind of slow at this. Where's Matt? How do I take off your pin, Matt? Remove pin. Okay. All right. So who can I see? Grace, Kat. Oh, there's Kat. Thanks. Brenda, Joshabed, Hadija, Lorraine, Gifty. So turn your videos on. We are going to do what I like to call a surprise photo. And what that means is we are all going to cover our eyes like so. I'm going to count backwards from 3, and then so we'll go 3, 2, 1. You open your eyes, and you're going to make a surprise face, and it's going to be epic. All right, because we have to end this on a happy, fun note. So everybody, cover your face. I don't want to see any faces. Cover your eyes. Come on, Pervenche. Okay, great. All right, we're going to count backwards. 3, 2, 1, and surprise. Awesome. Okay. Cool. So thank you all so much. We're calling this the dessert of the potluck because we're getting towards the end. We have one more session tomorrow. And I'm sorry to say, Zach and MT, you're not invited. It is for incubators and accelerators only. It is a very honest peer-to-peer feedback session. So we actually have Joram from Sandbox. I see Lorraine here today. And a couple of other incubators sharing their experiences and giving their advice to other incubators. So that's our kind of finale and our final dessert course that's happening tomorrow. So do join. Sorry, no funders for that one. But if you're an incubator and accelerator and you want some advice from those who have walked the journey or are continue to walk the journey as we all are, please do. And we are really just getting started. Once the potluck is over, Pollinate will be launching membership, and we have a quick poll that if I can ask Shami to help push out. Thank you so much. We just want to know how to engage with you in the future. We have a ton of activities that we're going to get started. We will love to continue doing things like this for our members and giving them that opportunity to build these relationships with funders and sort of allow others to be kind of the fly on the wall to get that peek behind the curtain. We have a ton of other things that we have in mind. So let us know what sounds interesting to you. Let us know how we can engage with you, once the potluck is over. And yeah, we hope to see many of you tomorrow for the last session. And then after that, for a lot of our calendar of events that we'll be publishing in the next couple of days. So we'll definitely be sending that to you all via email so that you can engage. And with that, I would like to thank everyone again. And we have just a quick video on kind of the story of Pollinate and where we came from as a network. So I'll ask my colleague Tassin to just push that out as the poll keeps going. And if anyone has questions that they want to ask, continue to ask our, Zach or MT or Pervenche or Matt. If you guys have time, feel free to stick around. Otherwise, we'll let you guys get back to your day because this was an awesome 90 minutes. And thanks again for your time. So I'll let Tassin share the video.
It is estimated that more than 7,500 incubators and over 3,000 accelerators operate globally. Social impact incubators play a vital role in supporting and nurturing social enterprises. However, incubators struggle to gain visibility or the credibility needed to access consistent funding, and the incubation industry has yet to achieve recognition as a fully established industry.
We often face the same challenges related to things like strategic growth, team management, financial sustainability, etc.
Impact incubators lack a space in which they can promote a shared understanding of best practices in their work.
Two of the challenges that I think are really important for incubators to try to overcome are staffing and related to funding.
To understand the incubation industry better and to arrive at the best possible solution, we interviewed more than 50 social impact leaders from around the world, including entrepreneurs, incubators, accelerators, funders, investors, and researchers, and here's what they had to say.
By creating a network where knowledge sharing is open, where there's an openness to understand from each other's mistakes and successes.
And there's something so supportive about having this kind of community that can enable you to troubleshoot these issues, and that really helps you to focus more on this impact piece alongside the incubation that we're doing.
By bringing together the stakeholders in this network, we hope to create a larger picture of the whole and the part that each of them is playing in this.
And this is why impact leaders from across the globe came together to design a global network of impact incubators to build Pollinate Impact.
Pollinate Impact is a member-driven network of social impact incubators,
where we aim to create a thriving, resilient, and mutually supportive ecosystem for impact incubators across the global south.
We believe that by empowering, resourcing, and enabling these impact enablers,
we can collectively amplify our ability to solve the biggest problems facing the people and the planet.
Pollinate Impact is an avenue for impact incubators to connect, collaborate, and co-create a bigger impact.
In essence, we celebrate the pollination of impact.
This network has been co-designed by a group of social impact leaders representing incubators, entrepreneurs, academia, foundations, and networks. One word that comes to mind when you think of Pollinate Impact:
Synergy, amplification,
Community.
Collaboration.
Openness.
Join us on this inspiring journey. Together, we will solve the challenges facing people and the planet.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hassin.
It is estimated that more than
Thanks again to MT, Zach, Matt, and Pervenche. I'll give you guys a big round of applause for this. So thank you so much. Again, if anybody has questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, we hope to see many of you, not just tomorrow, but in future events that we host. So thank you all so much, and have an awesome rest of your day, morning, evening, whatever time it is for wherever you all are joining from.